So the recent Trump rally in Madison Square Garden really made some noise. I mean, it got a huge audience. It got a huge amount of people gathering at this arena, gathering at one of the most spectacular places in New York City, and really showed unification of all sorts of people there. I mean, you had not only Donald Trump and Elon Musk, which, is a comedic duo on self, but you also had Tulsi Gabbard there. You had RFK Jr., you had Dr. Phil, you had comedians, you had Dana White there. You also had Hulk Hogan trying to rip off his shirts, the iconic move that he's always done. But it's so hilarious that, it's such a large crowd. You see the pollings that, it brings in the black voters, brown voters, Latinos, the people of color that are the diversity that's coming out to support Donald Trump because of the Democrats' just absolutely carelessness and just ignorance to black and brown people of America. It really is highlighted at Madison Square Garden, and they had to go in so much panic mode that the Democrats, liberals, the establishment kept referring to this as a Nazi rally and that Trump was like a Nazi. And oh my God, there was a rally here at Madison Square Garden in the 40s that had similar tastes and similar action. Which I don't know how you can call it a Nazi rally when RFK Jr. goes on stage and talks about healthy food. Yes! That's what the Nazis always wanted to do. They wanted to make you healthy. God damn it. Well, Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian, so that's not looking good. But one of the big highlights that I took away from this, and one of the most talked about highlights, was the fact that they had comedian Tony Hinchcliffe there. And for those who don't know, Tony Hinchcliffe is a renowned comedian. He has the Kill Tony podcast that's wildly popular in Austin, Texas. He is, if you've seen the roast of Tom Brady, you know about his jokes, you know about his shtick. He's a shock comic for obvious reasons. I mean, he's like the original Jeff Ross before Jeff Ross kind of scurried off and, got his place, if you know what I mean. So Tony Hinchcliffe addressed the people of Madison Square Garden, and of course, being a shock comic, he made some jokes. He made some concerning jokes. He made shocking jokes. That's what you do when you're a shock comic. That's what you do when you're Tony Hinchcliffe. You know who this guy is. You know about his character. You know about his shtick when he's on stage. So why is it surprising to people? Well, it turns out it was the joke itself that really got people upset. So this is from Kamala headquarters that pointed this out. It says Governor Tim Walz and AOC react to a clip when you have some a-hole calling Puerto Rico floating garbage. No, that's what they think about you. It's what they think about anyone who makes less money than them. I want every Puerto Rican in Philadelphia and reading across the country to see this clip. Or is it Reading? I guess it's Reading. But so they're going to do a live stream of Madison Square Garden and listen to these two reacting to Tony Hinchcliffe making a joke, being a shock comic and making a shocking joke. I can't believe people do that. Listen to their reaction and just how kind of out of touch it is with everything that's going on.
These are terrifying.
Absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. No.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
Actually, I think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing. I mean, he's a comedian. I don't.
Yeah, I love. Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's that knucklehead? I'm the knucklehead here. And then AOC responds, well, that's Tony Hinchcliffe, and that's kind of disappointing. It's disappointing that a shock comic was going to make a shocking joke. Like, it just seems so crazy that they're upset about this, that they're so cringeworthy about this. Tony Hinchcliffe, again, is making a joke. It is absolutely a joke. He doesn't actually refer to Puerto Rico as garbage, unlike your administration. Let's not forget that Hillary Clinton referred to half the country as deplorables when she didn't get nominated. Joe Biden refers to half the country as garbage. I mean, what do you call that? What do you call people that have the administrative leave and don't give Puerto Rico statehood? But you collect their taxes. You collect their taxes, you steal money from them, but you don't give them statehood? You don't allow them to become the United States of America? How's that different than Tony Hinchcliffe making this joke? How is that better than Tony Hinchcliffe making this joke as a shock comic? God. I really want to give AOC for Christmas this year a tape of Richard Pryor and see what she thinks about that. Give her the taste of real comics back in the day and see how that goes. That would be very, very interesting. Like, there's an idea. If you have a woke family member, like a very, very, very PC, pro-censorship, anti-hate speech person in your family, go to the nearest thrift store or record store or wherever you can, or Amazon maybe, and give them like an old tape of like Richard Pryor or Sam Kinison or Lenny Bruce or Bill Hicks or George Carlin, because shock comedy changes you for many different reasons.
Yeah, but
Follow
look,
this
Trump,
like
this
crew
issue
very
with Puerto
closely,
Rico
but-
again. I saw it. This was when he went down after Helene, the horrific hurricane. People there, everybody coming together. We sent helicopters down from Minnesota and personnel. You know how you do this during this. And in the first hours, Trump complaining about the response. Does anybody remember how he responded to Maria in Puerto Rico?
Dude.
It was absolutely.
Oh, well, we sent helicopters down there, and then Trump complained about the response. Yeah, like how people of North Carolina are complaining about the FEMA response now. How there's so much corruption. How they're refusing people to help community members and arresting them for volunteering. That's what they're doing right now in North Carolina after the recent hurricane, after Hurricane Helene. They're doing that to people in Florida after Hurricane Milton. They're refusing people to help one another in a community that's so damaged by that, and then FEMA refuses to respond. And they're damaging the goods that people are donating to these places because it's not acceptable, according to FEMA. They want to get from corporate interests, because if corporate interests buys into the charity case, they get kickbacks for it. And that's why they have to destroy resources that were sent by other members of the community to help people in need. That was under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Do you hear them complain about this? No. But, Trump and his complaining about the Puerto Rico hurricane. Oh, my God. He went down there and he threw toilet paper like LeBron James. At least he went down there. That's all I could say. It may not be great, but at least he went down there compared to you two.
Horrific. Down there insulting people, throwing it. Look, I know that the folks who are on here today understand this. People in Puerto Rico are citizens. They pay taxes and they serve in the military at almost a higher rate than anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's like super.
So they pay taxes, they serve in the military, but they don't get statehood. I mean, you are pretty much referring to them as garbage. Hey, we want to use you and abuse you, but you're not one of us. How does that feel? How does that make Puerto Ricans feel? I'd consider that more hateful, more discriminatory than anything Tony Hinchcliffe would say at Madison Square Garden or any comedy act he's ever done. You're deliberately abusing, exploiting Puerto Ricans, abusing them for money, abusing them for military power, but you won't give them statehood. You won't consider them United States after all these years. Holy crap. Holy freaking crap. But no, it's got to go to Trump. Trump, you know, going down there during the hurricane and throwing paper towels and then criticizing FEMA. How dare he be a critic of institutions that are most absolutely corrupt? Why can't he just go on stage and lie about being in Hong Kong like I did? I'm just such a knucklehead. God. He is such an interesting character. Tim Waltz reminds me of like those, you know, child stars from like the 60s and 70s that are now like in their 80s now, and they're trying to pretend that they're still their character. Like, ha! Remember me? I was one of the little rascals. I was Dennis the Menace. Remember me, kids? I don't know who the hell you are. You're just a creep. You're some old perverted bastard. Well, I was Dennis the Menace. I ruined flowers, and I carried a slingshot like David and Goliath. Such a knucklehead. So, I can go on about this because really it's just them talking about Trump the whole time. But here's Tony Hinchcliffe responding to this, saying these people have no sense of humor. Wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule, in quotations, to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. I love Puerto Rico and vacation there. I make fun of everybody. Watch the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon. But this works well for AOC because it's her favorite game show, right? Russia, racist or sexist. Which one are you? Or it could be worse. Now Tony Hinchcliffe can be promoting stochastic terrorism. God forbid. Words are violent. You retweeted something that I said commenting on your joke. That is indeed stochastic terrorism. Wow. Again, if you have anyone that's in your family or friends that are in that same boat, go get them a clip. Go show them a clip of comedians back in the day when they were really, really edgy. Not Tony Hinchcliffe edgy, but even more so. And see how they feel. See how that worked out. This is the reason why comedy back in the day was more profound than comics today. It's sad what's happening in the comic world. But AOC and Tim Waltz are going to say it's so vile. And speaking of vile, The View had a comment on this. The disgrace of daytime television everywhere. The View commented on Tony Hinchcliffe and again took it out of context and made this about Trump and his MAGA supporters. Listen to this.
Today when I was leaving the hotel, there was a woman there, and she started talking to me about this rally. And I said to her, "Are you Puerto Rican?" And she said to me, "No, but today we are all Puerto Ricans."
Right.
And so I want to say, and he didn't just make jokes about Puerto Ricans.
No, he didn't.
He made jokes about blacks.
Did you get that speech from Andrew Cuomo? Like, we're all Puerto Rican. We're all gay. We're all Jewish. We're all white. We're all black. We're all this. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a corrupt bastard. I'm a schmuck. Well, he didn't say that, but that's what he should have said in hindsight of that. But here's where it's just completely out of context.
You know, the whole trope about watermelons. He made jokes, a vile joke about Latinos that we can't even put on daytime TV.
Yep.
So today we are all in this together. And I'm going to say this particularly to my Latino community. If Trump asking for the death penalty for 5 young men of color Black and Latino. The exonerated 5 wasn't enough for you. If Trump getting investigated for refusing to rent to Black people wasn't enough for you. If Trump promoting a racist trope against the first Black president with the birtherism wasn't enough for you. If Trump calling Mexicans rapists and criminals and bad hombres wasn't enough for you. If Trump calling us vermin, invaders, people who poison the blood of this country wasn't enough for you. If Trump throwing paper towels at people in need after Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico wasn't enough for you.
My God.
If Trump saying immigrants have made this country into the trash can of the world wasn't enough for you, then maybe, just
And guess where those immigrants that came to this country are going towards? They're going to Donald Trump rallies, lady. So much so that MSNBC was panicking trying to figure that out. Like, but you're a person of color. How can you vote for this guy? You're a person of color. That's not right. That does not compute. Self-destruct. That's what they're doing right now. That's what this lady is doing. She's self-destructing. I can't believe this. Like, you're going to a rally to this guy that threw paper towels at Puerto Ricans during a hurricane. Don't you know the most prosperous thing to do is incarcerate them massively and say you don't want to live in a racial jungle? Because that's what Joe Biden did. That's the most responsible thing a president can do. Or, you know, when Donald Trump actually did launch rockets into Syria and Brian Williams said that was the most presidential thing Donald Trump has ever done. Yeah, you're supposed to mass kill them. You're not supposed to throw paper towels at them. That's racist. But killing them with hypersonic missiles and flattening their villages overseas, that is acceptable. That is responsibility. That is presidential, according to these schmucks. And you tell me what's more racist. You tell me what's more horrible and vile and heartbreaking.
Maybe this comedian, handpicked, chosen, vetted by the Trump campaign because he reflects what Trump has said his entire lifetime. Maybe that will be enough for you. And on November 5th, I want you to vote for your heritage and your traditions and your identity. I want you to vote with dignity and self-respect. Latinos, comunidad, si ustedes tienen respeto por sí mismos, si tienen dignidad, defiendan esa dignidad y usen sus votos el 5 de noviembre para sacar a Donald Trump.
Yes.
This comedian.
It's just so baffling. Let's play the full thing, then we'll comment.
He talked 32 minutes into this rally. Donald Trump showed up 4 hours and 20 minutes later, 4 hours and 52 minutes into this rally. So he had over 4 hours to come out there and condemn these comments, to distance himself.
He did the same thing on January 6th.
He did not do it. By then, every Puerto Rican had a mask. I mean, it was like the bat signal.
It was the bat signal. It was the bat signal. Yeah.
Oh my God. What does that even mean? It was the bat signal. It was the bat signal. Why didn't Donald Trump stop a comedian from expressing himself and doing comedy? Like, these are people that will live comfortably if we go back to the old Soviet totalitarianism empire. They would fit comfortably at a dictatorship. They would fit comfortably. Because why wouldn't a presidential contender go and smack down a comedian for doing comedy? Why wouldn't he stop him? Why would he let him just run his mouth and do comedy, which he's paid to do, and is very popular as one of the most popular shows on the internet? Like the bat signal. God. Speaking of vile and garbage, like, seriously, I don't even know how the show stays on. I don't know who. I've never met anybody at this point now that bothers to tune into the show. I mean, I have to watch these clips because The View commenting on stuff is the most disregarded. That's the most hilarious thing to watch. But I don't know anybody who could sit there and watch this kind of crap and believe this kind of crap, sitting in a round table with billionaire ladies, all with the same warped, brainwashed mindset, the cultivized mindset, and just diminishing everything around them. Like, it's just so arrogant. It's like the medieval days of, I wonder what the Poors are up to. Like, wow. Talk about the arrogance of these people at the View like that. And I want to throw this clip in because there may also be another reason why Tony Hinchcliffe, out of all people, and right after now, that they might dislike what Tony Hinchcliffe has done in his career, because Tony Hinchcliffe, again, is a shock comic. And what does shock comics do? They shock people. They shock them with comedy. They do profound jokes that maybe, distasteful to some people, but maybe people like it. That's what comedy is. It's an art form. People take it in different lights. You may like it, you may hate it. People have different opinions on different works of art. So here's a clip of Tony Hinchcliffe on Kill Tony's show, the show that he's producing. And this guy says this is why Democrats hate Tony Hinchcliffe. And listen to this.
Go ahead.
Basically, I mean, like, they said shit like go back to, Poland, all the normal shit.
But you've never been to Poland.
No, I'm from my ancestry is Ukrainian.
Oh, wow. Way to get the crowd on your side. There's some uneducated idiots that are rooting for you now, not realizing that country's stealing our money.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Oh, look at that pop from the crowd. Almost seems like we should stop donating to needless wars. Am I correct? If only there was a candidate for that coming up in November. It's a no-brainer. Do the right thing. Tell your friends. Anyway, Aiden. Go ahead.
Basically, I mean, like, they
And
said...
the crowd applauds that. The crowd's applauding that. So, is it shocking that Tony Hinchcliffe would go to a Trump rally? Is it really shocking that Tony Hinchcliffe would make a joke that shocks people and get a response? And even if people think of it as bad taste, just remember that when Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about Puerto Rico being Garbage Island, note that Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the people that know better and pretend to know better, pretend to be this intellect of, great ideas and also just, this awesome speakers, told half the country they're a bunch of deplorables, they're a bunch of racists, they're a bunch of garbage people, they're a bunch of hillbilly scum. You're telling it to half the nation. While Puerto Rico, you're abusing their tax dollars, you're abusing them for military power, and you still refuse them to give statehood. So, who's really the vile person in this conversation? Who is really the worst for Puerto Rico in this regard? But they'll go after a popular comedian for shock comedy because that comic made a joke that disregards the establishments disregarding Puerto Rico. And it's not even a, vile joke. I mean, I know comics in Canada that made similar jokes about Newfoundland. They consider Newfoundland the Puerto Rico here. Oh, it's like Garbage Island there. It's just full of Newfies. No disrespect to Newfies. Actually, I adore Newfies, so no disrespect at all. Just saying. Wonderful crowd out there. And again, you're focusing on a shock comic for doing shocking comedy. Like, way to point out the obvious and be outraged over nothing. You might as well scream at grass growing for growing. Like, just scream at a wall for paint that's drying. Just so absurd. But people will complain over anything. That's the world we're in, I guess.